I'm Mike Costello, and I'm here today with Dr. Iris Freelander, and we'd like to talk to you today about holidays and holy days. And every day is really a holy day, and as we celebrate the various holidays that we have through the year, we have the opportunity to call into our consciousness and our awareness the holiness of religious holidays and patriotic holidays and all aspects of remembrance. And one of the great things that I enjoy talking about at the church and in my lectures is the fact that every year we get to repeat all of these wonderful holidays. And of course, we have religious or spiritually charged days from the traditional Christian calendar. Which many of us are aware of. And then today, because the world has become so much smaller, and we're so much more diverse, which is a wonderful and marvelous thing. We have the holy days of so many other faiths that are celebrated, and then we have our patriotic holidays, which also many of those bring into our awareness the holiness of the day. I'm thinking about Memorial Day, or as one maybe, but and then of course there's also the aspect of the fact that any day, and I think when we look at maybe a married couple looks at their marriage anniversary as a holy day, and said, but then every day can really be a holy day as well, can't it, Iris?
Yes, it can, and we can if we appreciate the various days, then they become more holy to us, mm-hmm. And also we can know that from the inner planes of being, greater energy is wafted to the earth during special holy days. And it wouldn't be just, I said that to someone yesterday about Christianity, and she says, well, I hope you don't think all people have to, are included in that. And I said, well, certainly not. I'm saying that during any holy day, for any religion, that it's like that. But we can use the extra energy that's dispensed from any religion. We don't have to be of that religious belief to use that energy. And I think that if we are quiet enough and we can feel that energy, mm-hmm. that it's like the energy of a new moon and a full moon and so forth, and the tides. Mm-hmm. It's just a natural part of life, and we can use that energy to advantage. And so when we know the holidays of all the various religions and observe them with reverence, then we are attuning ourselves to that higher energy, aren't we?
Absolutely. And I think you just touched upon a very key point, and that is to observe with reverence. Mm-hmm. You know, so often in the West, we have been so isolated for so many generations, and that's not a condemnation, it's just a fact. And now, especially in the marvelous 21st century, and I still have to kind of pinch myself and say that, I still say the 20th century because most of my life was spent in the 20th century. Probably most of my lived out life will have been in the 20th century. But the 21st century, with so many wonderful people of other faith traditions who are our neighbors and our coworkers and our friends, we have the opportunity to, if we're not observing those days, and certainly many of us don't observe those days because we're not of that faith, but to show reverence and respect for mm-hmm. those observances, and also to use them as learning experiences. I was just speaking with a group the other day, an interfaith group actually, and we were talking about the wonderful opportunities that we have today to integrate into the teachings of young people an understanding of reverence and respect for the holy days and the holidays of other traditions. And that led us into a very heated debate, of course, as many things do, but I just thought it's just marvelous. And of course, the generation out of which you and I came, Iris, we had a hard time even understanding some of the Jewish holidays, and let alone the holidays of the Muslim faith and other faith traditions. And so now we're in a different, at a different point in time. We're at a very diverse point in time. And in order to overcome the adversarial misunderstandings and misinterpretations of the differences that separate us, we can use these as opportunities to draw us together. And even within the traditional Christian church, we have Catholic holidays, and we have Protestant holidays, and we have and so there's so little understanding and reverence very often that is reciprocated between people of diverse faiths. And so we have that wonderful opportunity. And before we get away in this program, maybe as we go, 30 minutes never seems to be enough for us to talk about what we need to talk about. But what you touched upon in having reverence for other faith traditions and sharing in that conscious awareness is becoming part of the global consciousness that takes place when these holy days take place. It may be, excuse me, even something that we're not a part of, but we have such a wonderful opportunity. So we'll go into that in a little while in terms of the reality that there is a vibration that comes from this experience. And I think that's for traditional believers and people from traditional Western faiths, sometimes it's difficult to understand that there is vibration. The thought is vibration, isn't it?
Indeed.
Yeah.
And as we respect other religious beliefs and other holidays and other people from those various aspects of religion, then it changes our energy level. And again, it's just like there's the negative and positive aspect of everything. Well, we're putting a positive spin on that. And it impacts on our lives. So we are richer by far for accepting all religions and accepting that each religion is very important to the people who are part of that religion. But it is spirituality. Mm-hmm. It is religion. It carries a specific energy, and we have but to accept that. Yes, that's wonderful. Mm-hmm. Then we gain from it. But if we look at it askance or negatively, then we're not pulling in any energy at all from it. We can really use that energy to our advantage.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking years ago we rented a building, and we rented a building from a gentleman who was of the Jewish faith. And in the course of the conversation, one of the things that he said to me was, and the building had not been used for religious purposes, and we were going to be using it for as part of our meetings and for classwork. And one of the wonderful things he said was, well, I'm so happy that any religious people are going to use my building because it can't do anything but do good for my building. and I, that's a very tangible expression. Here we were of different faiths, but his view was that by bringing the spiritual aspect and bringing a group of believers that may be completely different than he is, or different from his way of thinking, into his building was good for his building. And of course, that reality is a positive view to look at the holiness and the sanctity and the reverence of days and holidays and holy days. In our tradition, of course, one of the things that in the New Thought and metaphysical tradition, very often, because we have people of a great diverse faiths that come and share with us, a lot of the organizations and classes and churches and groups similar to ours don't observe some of the more traditional times of even the traditional Christian calendar. And as you know, we always spend a lot of time in the church in our fellowship using those spiritual times in Advent and Lent as an example on an annual basis for opportunities for introspection and for deeper spiritual realization. And hopefully we're coming to the point in time where it's not only going to be the Advent and the Lent and the Christmas mm-hmm. and the Easter and the religious holidays that we spend in the Christian tradition that we would observe, but also that we would collectively be reverent and come to know more about the holy days of other faiths. And as we do that, we become a stronger spiritual body. We also become a more open-minded group,
Yeah.
and we become simple, if for no other reason, we become educated. And certainly, I don't think anyone can find fault with education. And so that is just a tremendous opportunity. This opportunity to make holy days, holidays, or every holiday holy. Yeah.
Yes, and as we say so often, everything is energy and vibration. So if we look at life in that light, we can see that every thought we have, every thought we exercise, makes a difference in the world, in the global brain, the mass consciousness, and in our own life, even more importantly, and the lives of the people around us, because we're creating that energy around us that's desirable when we accept other religions, when we use the energies of the other religions. And so if we look at it like that, we'd be very short-sighted and to not observe all the holidays possible and to know more about them. And we don't even have to know about them, just to accept, yes, this is wonderful, this is good. And that makes a difference in how we spend our thinking throughout the day. Because as a man thinketh, who said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And we know that that's true. The way we think about life, the way we think about all the various ramifications of life, religion, how other people react to us, what other people are doing or not doing, not being critical, but just being accepting. And I think you do that exceptionally well. I see it in every aspect of our church, where you let people be and you let them do and you let them, and you don't pull them up short. And so they learn and they grow.
And that, yeah, thank you for that compliment. But that growth is meeting a need for them, and then it lets us as a group share in their growth, and we become part of the positive aspect of what is taking place. And this issue of energy is really tremendously important, I think, and that is, our thought is really energy and vibration, isn't it? And thought has creative power. Just yesterday, I was preparing a talk for a business meeting that I'm going to be speaking at this coming weekend, and you're going to be speaking for me at church, I know, but I'll be doing a retreat. And one of the things that I was doing for this business meeting, when I'm preparing some talks using these principles, but not making them religious as such. And one of the things that I came across was a quotation that ideas are like seeds and they grow. And I thought, well, that's a wonderful thing, because and that ideas are alive. Well, ideas are indeed alive, and ideas do indeed grow. And sadly, there are a lot of negative ideas that have been planted and that grow in this universe or in this world that we know, and probably the universe too. So as we're able to plant the seeds of understanding, then we grow wonderful and positive, and our thoughts grow in a wonderful way.
Yes, and it makes a difference in all of life. It makes a difference in our immediate aura, expanse, the people around us, and it makes a difference in the universe. And that's a very humbling idea, isn't it? But we know that it's true, that whatever we think or do makes a difference throughout the earth. And it would behoove us to really live to our highest if we could just remember that all the time. But again, we can look around us at the people whom we find serene, happy, content, and that's a good reason for us to live up to the highest within us, because we know as those people are doing that, then it shows outwardly, but it shows inwardly with them. And people actually look younger, they look more content, You can tell it on people's faces when they're accepting of life and accepting that what happens is a normal course of events. And no, God didn't single us, that individual out for punishment. And so when we look at life in a positive way, every day can be a holiday or a holy day.
And every day is indeed a holiday and a holy day for all of us. We'd like to pause at this point in the program and offer you the opportunity to receive some information.
We would like to offer you the opportunity to receive one of these free booklets to further your understanding of the New Thought message of confident living. Each month we will feature a different booklet, which will be mailed to you free and postage paid. Simply address your request to Confident Living at P.O. Box 7726, Long Beach, California, 90807.
Let's talk a little bit about this mass consciousness. That sounds really big, doesn't it? The mass consciousness, but it's a very simple concept, isn't it, Iris?
Yes, it is. Well, again, everything is energy and vibration, and it permeates all that is. And God is a part of all that is. God is a part of you and me and every living person, a part of every person who's not living on earth because their soul, their higher consciousness lives on. And so God is all in all, is a part of everything. So if God is a part of everything, as we can define it, then we create that global brain or mass consciousness. And we can call it whatever name we like, but we know it's just like if you have a steaming tea kettle, then the water is all going into steam if it stays on the fire. Or everything is, we can use almost anything in life as an example that yes, everything is residual and everything is almost tangible. So when we think of the global brain and mass consciousness, we know it is a composite of the essence of all that is. And so it's really simple to accept it on that basis, isn't it?
Absolutely. And one of the examples that I use when occasionally I'll use the term mass consciousness or global brain, and people will say, what? We forget sometimes that in New Thought and in metaphysics we use terms that some people aren't perhaps as accustomed to as they are to other terms. But one of the examples that I give is that when people come together and on a small scale, we can see that there is a collective energy that's created. And one of those examples would be, say, if a political rally. If people come together for a political rally and we bring 10 people into a room, there's a level of enthusiasm, there's a vibration, there's a feeling within that room. And then you bring 20 into that room and it becomes more powerful. You bring 40 into that room, it becomes more powerful. You bring 400 or 4,000, and then if you look at, for instance, our presidential conventions, you end up with a huge vibration that's being created, and it's not being created by the clapping hands and the cheering, although it's there, but it is being created by the vibration of the thought that all of those people are in that place, all of those people are thinking a common thought. On a spiritual level, we can use the analogy so often, and this is not to say that this is the only reason the spiritual healing takes place, because you and I both know the spiritual healing takes place always, and that it happens among 2 people or 5 or 10, but very often in healing rallies or a spiritual or religious group, as we bring together 100 people or 1,000 people and then 5,000 people, that as the larger the group becomes and that group is attuned to one thought and one process and one feeling, the vibration that takes on the feeling in that room or in that auditorium or in that church or the cathedral or wherever we are is it becomes the vibratory rate that takes place. Well, that same reality and principle is taking place in the entire planet. And so as we bring people into a common thought process, and that happens, and today we're talking about holidays and holy days. If we take holy days, for instance, if we take multiple millions of people who are thinking in a specific way about a truth, and we'll take Easter, for example. And so on Easter Sunday, if there are multiple millions of people gathering for celebration and prayer, then that creates a consciousness, and that consciousness permeates the entire planet. And it's possible for the entire planet to feel it and everyone in it. And the way that we know we feel it is that we can go into a house or a room and we feel the vibration that's in there. We either feel welcomed or unwelcome. So that vibration is there, and we're constantly creating this universal mind or this global mind or global consciousness. And our philosophy is that we want to attune that always to the highest and the best, and then we want to make that connection with the divine. And if we can do that, we can have peace on earth. And of course, one of the things that happens in New Thought churches so often, and organizations and centers, is at the end of church services, it's very common to sing, "Let there be peace on earth." And there's a certain collective feeling that comes because of that, and then the idea is that then becomes hopefully infectious. We know that things are infectious, and so that concept is just kind of a simple way of sharing with people that don't maybe understand. It's easy to become, for the whole planet to become negative. War is an example. It's easy for the whole planet to become fearful. And we've certainly gone through some periods of time in recent months and years of that. And it's possible for that to happen in neighborhoods, or in nations, or in regions. And so we have to be very cautious in terms of how the dynamic of mind is operating. And we have to draw upon the holiness of every day and the holiness of our collective consciousness to unite our minds with divine mind and allow our minds to be attuned to the vibration that we want to see manifest in the lives and the experience of our planet.
Yes, and when we think of it like that, we can see, we can sense and feel that energy. Mm-hmm. And we talk about meditation a great deal in our programs, and it's through meditation that we can test things. We can ask questions and receive answers and test. And I think that it's become, I've been meditating for a great many years, and I've been leading groups, as you know, for a great many years. And I can see a vast difference in the way people are able to get their own information today than they did, let's say, 25, 35 years ago. Mm-hmm. And that's because the energies throughout the earth are changing. That is a part of the mass consciousness or the global brain. And so that's a wonderful thing to know, that this energy and information is available to us. So if everyone would just be quiet and listen, ask a question and listen, and trust their own inner, because that information is coming from a higher source into our consciousness. And when I lead meditation groups, I tell them to, and I'm sure you do too, to just take the first thing that comes to mind and assume that's truth, and then ask more questions when they're working through a knotty problem. And I know I've seen it work miracles in my own life, and I've received information that I never dreamed I would receive, things I hadn't thought of before. And they would go off on a tangent that would be very surprising to me, but very helpful and very wonderfully beneficial for my thinking and for my planning and executing my life on a day-to-day basis. So I encourage everyone to do that, to go into a state of meditation. And it's very simple. Some people say, well, I've never meditated. Well, it's just being quiet. It's just being quiet, attuning ourselves to the divine, from the divine within, divine Creator God, and then trusting that we are getting the information that we need and want.
And a wonderful time to do that is during these holy days,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
On holidays. It's a wonderful time because then we begin to draw upon that strength and vitality of the universal consciousness or global brain. And so that becomes a powerful, powerful source. And we, of course, advocate meditation daily. You
Yes,
and I do. We
indeed.
teach it and we believe it, and we think that it's wonderful for centering ourselves and for relieving stress and creating vitality and giving direction and answers to our life problems and to the perplexities and decision making that we have in life. I make virtually all of my decisions through meditation and prayer. That's probably would shock a lot of the people who hire me for business consultations, but I do, and so and it is an important aspect of our the way that our mind operates and the dimension of life that we can access. And just as you said, then we don't have to rely upon our own abilities or our own knowledge and we're not separated. We are connected with everyone and everything. And as we're connected with everyone and everything, and most importantly, we're connected with that infinite intelligence, we have limitless answers to every need.
Yes, and that is comforting to know. But a lot of people don't trust their own inner guidance. So I would recommend that they learn to trust their inner guidance and just listen and know that it's not their self. It's not the little self. It's the big self. It's the higher self. And our higher self, again, is connected to Creator. And so if we look at life in that way, we're far less fearful because we know that we're being guided and directed, and we don't have to make decisions from our own conscious state of being, but we're making decisions from a higher state of being. And I think that's very lovely that you're telling everyone that, yes, I do pray and meditate in my business, because obviously you've been very successful in your business, and that's a good thing to know. Years ago, I wrote a newspaper column. It was for women called New Beauty for You years ago, but I decided to make that column be more beneficial and all-inclusive. So I wrote one on, I think it was called, I'm not quite sure what I called that column, but I interviewed a lot of successful men. It was probably about meditation. I interviewed a lot of successful men who had been successful in their business and continue to be, and asked them, do you pray and meditate? Do you look to the divine for answers in your work? And without question, the successful, happy ones all said the same thing you did.
It's fundamental. It's fundamental and important. And now time has gotten away from us. And as we close, we want to invite you to celebrate every day as a holiday and a holy day. And we look forward to seeing you next time.